Shri Gurucharitra Chapter 50. Shri Gurudev Datta Parabrahmani Namaha. The Muslim king gets cured from his ailment by the grace of Shri Guruji. Siddha Yogi narrated the later part of Shri Gurucharitra to Namadharaka thus. O my dear disciple, in his past life, Shripad Shri Vallabha Guruji, the first incarnation of Shri Datta Guruji and the previous incarnation of present Sri Narsingh Saraswati Swamiji, had blessed a washerman that he would be born as a king in Bidar in his next birth. Accordingly, he was born as a sultan in a royal family in Humnabad near Bidar in his next birth. He was ruling his kingdom very graciously and was blessed with sons, grandsons, grains, wealth, fame, and glory. Though he was born in a barbarian family, due to his past birth's virtuous deeds, mental impressions, and the grace of Sri Guruji, he was behaving differently, a deviation from his Islam religion. He had a high regard for Hindu religion and practiced worship of cows, Hindu gods, and respected Hindu scriptures. He was fond of Brahmins and loved and respected them like his fellow Muslim beings. He treated them well and never harassed them. The king also did not meddle in the temple affairs and extended his wholehearted support to the temples. In short, he showed equanimity to all religions. His religious practices and approach towards the Hindu religion in particular were against the tenets of his Islam religion. Therefore, Khaji Shahs and co-fellows from his own community were not in agreement with him so far as his philosophy and practice of religion were concerned. The Khaji Shah from his own religion advised him this way: Hey the sovereign, being a Mohammedan, it is imperative on your part to practice no religion other than Islam. As a man from Muslim community, you ought to have condemned, rejected Hinduism, their traditions, gods and Brahmin culture. You are keenly pursuing them zealously. One earns religious merit by following his own religion and not by following alien religion. The follower of alien religion attracts flaws and lands in trouble in due course. The ignorant, low-witted Hindus and stupid Brahmins worship stones, trees, cows, and other objects, considering them to be the forms of God. Though the God is invisible and all-pervasive, they are assuming God to be visible and confine him to objects and temples and venerate. However, the king never got influenced by their philosophical thoughts as he had full faith in Hindu traditions. He did not deviate from his chosen path and he was unmoved by their teachings and advice. Sometimes he used to become furious with his community people for their mean mentality and disagreement with others' religions. He used to pronounce in unequivocal terms before his religious heads that the God is all pervasive and seen in all movable and immovable objects. He pleaded and tried to convince his fellow beings that everyone is governed by the action of his past birth and that one acts according to the tendencies of his previous birth and follows the religious path. He opined that God is one, but religions are many. As that Mohammedan king inherited the virtuous qualities of past birth and tendencies, he developed tolerance towards other religions. Thus, the king had a contented life and developed a strong inclination towards Hinduism. With the passage of time, an abscess appeared on his thigh. None of the lines of treatment adopted by him helped in giving relief from that disease. Instead, it was growing in its magnitude day by day, causing terrible pain to him. The king was troubled a lot due to the pain of that abscess. Once he invited Brahmins to find a way out if there could be and requested them thus: O the Brahmin superiors, what is the remedy for getting cured from abscess? By which line of treatment could it be cured? He questioned the Brahmins thus. Then the Brahmins advised the king thus: O the sovereign, sinful deeds of your previous birth have taken the form of this disease and are troubling you. The best solution to get rid of your sins is to pay a visit to holy places, worship deities, and practice charitable acts. If you follow our instructions, your disease would certainly be cured. Also, there is another way out for you. That is, you must get engaged in the service of an ascetic holy persons. Due to their vision of grace, you will be cured from this disease. By the kind look and grace of great souls, one's heap of sins accumulated through generations gets diluted. Therefore, you seek Guru's blessings after taking dip in holy waters. The king said thus. O the learned Brahmins, I am fully agreeable with your advice to engage myself in the service of virtuous people to get relieved from this terrible disease. I am very much impressed by your suggestion. But be kind enough to narrate to me any past incident where one got cured from a dreadful disease by serving an ascetic. Then one of the Brahmins said, O the king, you are a barbarian king and I am a Brahmin. I do not wish to tell any incident in the presence of your irreligious people who have hatred towards Hindu religion, scriptures, and Brahmins. Should I narrate the incident openly, both of us will be attracting unwanted criticism. In response, the king said that he was not proud about any caste or religion and that he was not the enemy of Hindu religion. One of the Brahmins present there noted that the Muslim king had pro Hindu feelings and that he was not a religious fanatic. The king, who repented for his past sins, was found having no anti Hindu feelings. Hence, those Brahmins advised him thus. O the great king, the Pap Vinashi Tirtha, which is very close to you, is the most sacred place for the solution of your problem. There is no other ideal spot for isolation. On the pretext of water sports, you arrange for a visit to that place and have a bath in an isolated place near Pap Vinashi Tirtha. During your visit there, you shall meet an ascetic to whom you should surrender and request him for suggesting a remedy for your disease. He would surely advise the right course of action to you. The king, along with his family members, arrived at Pap Vinashitirtha instantly and he alone left for an isolated spot. He took a bath in that spot. Meanwhile, a divine lustrous ascetic arrived there. The king prostrated before him devotedly and showed him abscess and begged for suggesting a remedy. Then that ascetic told him thus. Hey king, the day when you meet an exalted soul, your abscess would disappear. On this subject, I am going to tell you an interesting story based on a past incident. In the city of Avanti, there was a Brahmin who was highly furious, conceited, and ill conducted. He had abandoned his Brahminical religion and culture, deliberations, conduct, customs, and was attracted by women of all castes. He developed attachment with an unchaste woman by name Pingala and had happy times with her day and night and indulged in sinful activities. As the things stood, one day in the evening, a great sage happened to arrive accidentally to the residence of that unchaste woman. Both of them venerated that sage and prostrated before him devotedly. Later, they treated him very affectionately. They adored him with flowers, perfume, and fruits, etc., and made excellent arrangements for food and resting. They served his lotus feet with great devotion and showered a lot of love on them. When that yogi rested, the couple remained awake and were at his service the whole night without any break. After some time, both that Brahmin and unchaste woman left this physical world. Due to the merit accrued from worshipping the great yogi in his previous life, he took birth in a royal family as a son of Vasumati, the elder wife of King Vajrabahu of Dasharnav kingdom. The king had another wife. As she had no issues, she felt envy of the elder wife of the king and harassed her. To take revenge against her, one day she, without the knowledge of anybody, mixed the poison of snake in the food and offered it as a drink to that rival wife. Not suspecting of her motives, the elder wife consumed the drink. However, by the grace of God, she did not die. As the destiny willed, abscess spread throughout her body. Due to the severe pain of abscess, she suffered a lot. In that critical condition, she gave birth to a male child. When that child was in her womb, the poison she had consumed had gone into the body of embryo too. As such, the child also suffered abscess on its entire body. The child started crying incessantly, unable to bear the severe pain caused by those rashes. The king arranged for the treatment of both wife and son by renowned physicians, but none of the lines of treatment served any purpose. There was no cure from that deadly disease. After some time, the disease got aggravated further and took a serious turn. When both mother and son were suffering in that helpless condition, the king, who was disturbed by their agony, spent many sleepless nights without knowing what to do about the matter. One day he thought in his mind thus: anyway, there is no chance of their recovery. It appears that their disease is not going to get cured. They are solely responsible for their sinful actions and not myself. Everyone should reap the fruits of his own actions. Sin never goes without paying. Thinking this way, he called his charioteer and ordered him to abandon them in a desolate forest area. The charioteer obliged the king and deserted them in the isolated forest. As the mother and son were refugees in that unknown area, they had to experience severe misery. They suffered a lot without food and water, so also from unbearable pain. While they were passing through that thick forest in search of food and water, they happened to meet the cowherd boys. The cowherd boys were greatly hurt by looking at the condition of both mother and son. They felt pity on her and guided her the path that led towards the palace so that she can meet the king of that region for shelter. Both mother and son, after undertaking journey for some time, reached the palace. Looking at her miserable plight, the noble king felt pity on them. He made necessary arrangements for her independent, comfortable stay and provided everything she needed so that she could be comfortable. He looked after her very affectionately. However, instead of improvement in her health, her condition got deteriorated further. There were no traces of even slightest recovery. Finally, one day her son expired. She could not bear the pangs of separation of her son, and suddenly she fell unconscious. After some time, she regained consciousness and continued grieving by remembering her son repeatedly. People tried to console her in several ways, but it was of no use. She was not consoled. When the bereaved queen was grieving thus, Rishabdev, an incarnate of Lord Shiva, recollected the favor done to him by them in their previous birth and rushed towards her. He tried to console her by preaching the philosophy of life and death. He advised her not to grieve anymore after realizing that this human body is mortal. Even then, she was not solaced. She also desired death as she could not live without her son. Rishabha Yogi, looking at her plight, sympathized with her. His heart dissolved. He recalled the fact that he was the same person who in his past birth lived with that unchaste woman who served him, and after death in this birth is being born as son in her womb. He also remembered the favor done by that degraded Brahmin. He took out the sacred ash which he carried with him and applied it on all the parts of the dead body and put some portion of it in the mouth of that dead body. The deceased boy became alive. The abscess on his body had disappeared. His pale body turned into golden color. After that, the ascetic sprinkled the sacred ash on the body of the queen too. Immediately, the rashes on her body too disappeared. The complexion of her body also changed. Then the ascetic conferred a boon to them and left the place. In this way, that ascetic narrated the story to that Muslim ruler to highlight the importance of the boundless glory of pious and virtuous people. The ascetic advised the king thus: O the king, you too will definitely be cured from the excess if you serve the pious people devotedly. Do not have any doubt in your mind about my words. With a strong determination, unshaken belief, and having single disposition, you shall serve the virtuous men. The king felt that the ascetic had given him the right kind of advice. With an eagerness to know more about the ascetic, the king questioned him thus: Hey, the sage, who is that virtuous man that you are referring to? Where does he stay? Kindly let me know all this. I shall certainly meet him. Then the sage said, O king, very close by here, on the banks of Bhima river, there is a sacred place called Gangapur. There stays a great ascetic who in reality is the form of Trinity. You shall have his vision without fail. Just by meeting him, you shall be cured from abscess. The king, without further delay, arrived at Gangapur and inquired about Shri Guruji. The people got scared when they learned that he was a king from Mohammedan race who was supposed to be anti-Hindu minded. None of them dared to speak to him. However, after free mutual conversation, they learned that he was a great devotee of Shri Guruji. They informed him about Shri Guruji's routine practice of visiting Sangam for performing his religious obligations. The king proceeded towards Sangam and he had the vision of Shri Guruji there and saluted him with folded hands. Shri Guruji took cognizance of his presence and questioned him in the aforesaid manner. Hey, the laundryman, wherefrom have you come? In your past life, you were my servant. What made you to visit me after such a long time? Then the king instantly recollected about his previous birth. He caught hold of the feet of Shri Guruji and shed tears of joy. Addressing Shri Guruji, he said, Hey Gurudev, why did you abandon me for such a long time? Myself, being a prey to illusion, intoxicated by the worldly possessions and devoid of prudence and forgetting your eternal feet, wasted my valuable time without any fruitful achievement. Kindly excuse me for my ignorance and grave mistake and elevate me. Favor me with an opportunity to be in the service of your lotus feet. My previous first desire to become a king has already been fulfilled. Now I am tired of princely life, luxuries, and riches. I am ridden with an abscess on my thigh. I am suffering a lot from its pain. I sincerely pray to you to have a compassionate look on me and save me from this treasury. Shri Guruji just smiled at him and said, O king, you do not have any abscess on your body. That is only your delusion. Let me see that. Then the king just glanced at the affected part of his body. Surprisingly, it had already disappeared. The king could not believe his own eyes. He was highly surprised. In that ecstatic state, he repeatedly saluted Shri Guruji and eulogized him thus. Hey, the life companion, I am relieved now from abscess due to your kind favor. Your compassionate look at me has saved me from this horrible disease. So far, I had enjoyed the royal rich status, riches, luxuries, and I am now living happily with my wife and children. Now, my firm conviction is that everything which I possess today is only due to your grace, and hence the same should be offered at your lotus feet. You may please visit my kingdom at least once and witness personally the glory, grandeur of kingship. That is the only wish I have now for the moment. Then Shri Guruji said, O the king, your kingdom is surpassed by Mohammedans. The citizens of your kingdom are indiscriminately engrossed in cow slaughter, rape, violence, gambling, drinking, and such other nefarious activities. It is not a fit place for an ascetic like me to visit. If you wish me to visit your kingdom, you have to first prohibit all these unwanted and irreligious activities. Should you do that, I shall certainly visit your kingdom and witness the royal glory. This way, Shri Guruji assured him. The king agreed for Shri Guruji's terms. Shri Guruji appreciated his devotion very much and informed that he would visit his kingdom soon. Accordingly, the king, who was in the best of his moods, arranged to receive Shri Guruji by making elaborate arrangements. He made Shri Guruji to be seated in palanquin and in ecstasy carried the sacred Guru Padukas personally in his hands and accompanied him on foot. Then Shri Guruji told him thus, Hey the king, if you accompany me by walk, people are sure to abuse you. The citizens of your kingdom shall certainly attack you with defamatory remarks and abusive words. Besides, people from your religion definitely would condemn you for your favorable disposition towards Hindus and their religion and practices. However, the entire army of the king was in full attendance to accord honor to Shri Guruji. The king happily showed his entire army and possessions to Shri Guruji. Shri Guruji then told him, "Hey the king, there would be considerable delay in reaching your kingdom which is far away from this place if you are to accompany me by walk. Therefore, to reach your place speedily, you will have to arrange for a horse ride." The king arranged 4 horses for Shri Guruji and his accompanying disciples. Even he selected one for his distant journey. Shri Guruji, while proceeding towards Gangapur on the way, called the king and told thus, "Hey Rajan, there will be a break to my routine religious obligations if I am accompanied by you at such a low speed. To overcome this problem, we shall now travel at a higher speed. You may just follow us at a low pace. I shall be meeting you near the sacred Papinashi pond." The king consented to Shri Guruji's proposition. Shri Guruji, along with his disciples, disappeared at once and by the speed of thought covered the journey and arrived at Maidura city. From there, he proceeded towards the merit conferring Papavinashi Tirtha and stayed back there for performing routine religious rituals. Then, the citizens of that area came to Sri Guruji in patches. Along with the citizens of the city, Naganatha, the eldest son of your ancestor Sayadeva, was also present. He too had a meeting with Shri Guruji and invited him to his home and adored affectionately. Naganatha also arranged for a grand befitting mass meal program. Later, Shri Guruji left for Papvinashi Tirtha. Meanwhile, the king, not knowing the whereabouts of Shri Guruji, was frantically searching for him in and around that area with a firm resolve to meet Shri Guruji at any cost. However, Shri Guruji was not to be seen anywhere. He thought in his mind that on account of some flaws from his side, Shri Guruji might have de-recognized him. Meanwhile, he was reminded of Shri Guruji's words that he would be meeting him in Papvinashi Tirtha. With a deep faith in his mind that he would be getting the vision of Shri Guruji, he ascended a horse and after a long journey arrived at Papvinashi Tirtha within a day and met Shri Guruji and prostrated before him. He decorated the whole city beautifully and arranged for a palanquin for Shri Guruji's travel. He accompanied Shri Guruji with devoted sentiments in a festive mood. After some time, the king, along with Shri Guruji, entered the conference hall of the kings. Then, Shri Guruji, along with his 4 close disciples, entered the palace of the king. There, the king introduced Shri Guruji to the members of his family. All of them prostrated before Shri Guruji. At that time, the king expressed his inner desire before Shri Guruji thus: "Hey the Master, by your grace, I have ruled this kingdom for a long period. Now I am tired of ruling. I do not wish to continue with kingship. I must get an opportunity of serving your lotus feet perennially. That is the only wish left for me in this life. I do not want to be reborn in this mundane world. Kindly fulfill this desire of mine." Shri Guruji blessed and advised him thus: "O the king, you shall now hand over the reins of your kingdom to your children. You will be an enlightened person now. Shortly, I am leaving for Sri Shaila. You shall meet me there at Sri Shaila and be contented." Thus saying, Shri Guruji left the palace and from there arrived at the bank of river Godavari. After taking holy bath there, he returned to Gangapur. All the devotees had darshan of Shri Guruji and felt blissful. All of them saluted Shri Guruji and waved lamps in ecstasy. By being in touch with Shri Gurucharitra incessantly, one can get all his desires accomplished. Here ends the 50th chapter in the most auspicious Shri Gurucharitra. Shri Gurudev Datta, Shri Guru Dattatreya Arpanamastu.